So I wanted to make this as a direct video response to somebody who I felt needed a direct response. They wrote me a long message replying to my video about America is cooked, China already won. Now I'm going to go point by point summarizing their message, and then I will give my take. They basically agreed with most of my arguments when it comes to America, and even a lot of the points that I made about China. But their criticism was to basically say, I show speed and the parade that China just did are not viable factors to be evaluating when it comes to China's strength. Along with that point, they said that the demographics are not doing well in China and that their population is going to halve by the end of the century, and that's going to put them into economic turmoil and chaos. Another point was that basically America has better demographics. They're in a better position because of their demographics, but America is collapsing into fascism, and I mean that was the point. That was pretty much their entire message. They basically said that China's collapsing because of demographics, even though America is also collapsing, and China's ability to mobilize resources to support their people is great, but not an indicator of economic viability long term, or even demographic viability, which in and of itself needs addressed. This is the point. This is the overall message. China is not a country that has to worry about many of the same problems that we have here in the West. Okay, China is a society that is state-run. They own all of their resources, all of their land. They're not for sale to foreign corporate multinational parasites. They own everything in China. As they famously say, China is for the Chinese. It's for Chinese people. America, on the other hand, has a completely different system. He made the point that we shouldn't talk about the parade that China just did, where they showed off more advanced AI, lasers, submarines, drones, and I could go on, than American military contractors can even fathom, can even imagine. Because in China, it's about what works for the people, not what makes a parasitic military contractor a profit. In our country, the entire economic system revolves around making a profit. In China, it's about what works for the people. This person made the point that all of the amazing things that China is able to do when it comes to mobilizing resources for their people, that's not a indication of economic strength long term or demographic viability. Well, their parade showed off all their military equipment, not all, I'm sure, just the ones that they wanted to show off, because they were able to, because it was funded by the state, by the government. Here in America, where we have Palantir sponsoring our military parade and Coinbase Crypto sponsoring our military parade, it's all about what can make a profit for the military contractors. If that's some expensive plane or tank or missile or something that isn't even going to be utilized, in a war, but it's just a big slush fund to pump money into so they can have more profits for their corporate masters. America is a completely different system. I'm putting a filter on. I'm trying not to be too overt and too aggressive or anything with how I'm expressing this message. You could probably tell I'm putting a filter on, trying to be as gentle as possible, literally as gentle as I can be. But America is not the same kind of system. The fact that they're able to mobilize resources for their country is why they had that parade in the first place. This person made the point that the fact that they're able to do all of that resource mobilization is not, apparently, an indicator of economic strength, which, if you know anything about economics, if you know anything about politics, if you know anything about how governments and states run, you cannot lift people out of poverty. You cannot alleviate poor living standards, enhance or increase living conditions. You cannot do any of those things unless you have immense material wealth. And China has that. The difference being that wealth is not leached off of by parasites that don't produce anything and don't contribute to the society, don't contribute to the country, don't contribute to the people. In China, it's just about what works. It's not about a profit. It's about the people and actually representing them. Something that if you tell Americans, they can't even comprehend how a system like this can exist. But if you know how China operates, you know that they're not doing anything at the behest of some financial interest. It's all sovereign interest of the people. And here in America, we can't even, it's literally, quite literally, a foreign alien concept to us. We can't even understand it. He made the point that the demographics in China are going to have by the end of the century. Well, I've got news for you, brother. My brother in Christ, listen to me. The entire modern industrialized world is dealing with demographic issues and lowered birth rates. The entire world. And it's not unique to China. He made the point that we have the best demographics in the world. Well, that's just a lie. That's just not the truth. We have some of the worst birth rate in the modern world. Worst birth rate in the modern world. Some of the lowest. He made the point that housing, home ownership, and car ownership are much more realistic measurements of how an economy is doing. Well, China is the manufacturing hub of the entire world when it comes to cars. They manufacture more cars than anybody, and houses are not for speculation, as Xi Jinping so nobly says. Houses are for living in, not for speculation. That's Xi Jinping, the greatest leader of the modern era. And we live in a country where millennials, Gen Z, we can't even comprehend, we literally can't even imagine getting a home in our 20s, in our 30s, reasonably speaking. Not like the generations before us. And that is a manifestation of this system. There is no reason that we should live in a system like this. If you agree with me, for the most part, 90% of what I said about China, about America, then you cannot defend this system when it comes to demographics and say, oh, well, we'll actually be in a better position when it comes to demographics. No, man, no. You're very, very subtly defending this system in a way that isn't even real. You need to wake up to the reality that we're both sharing in this country. It's not as simple as, oh, well, actually, the resources in China are great, and China's ability to use them for their people are great, but actually, their population and people is diminishing overall. So that means that they're not doing... Well, I've got news for you. The entire world is like that. The difference being China actually adheres to 5-year plans for their economic and societal development. They execute billionaires for laundering money away from the people and away from those 5-year plans. What do we have here in America? We have our entire globally led financial system dictated by bankster criminals. Multinational bankster criminals who have no allegiance to this country, don't give a damn about our people, and literally we could live or die and it doesn't even matter to them one way or the other. Has no bearing on their profit motive. Because these are vultures and parasites that will just up and leave and move to the next place. They have no loyalty, no devotion, no patriotism to this country. And if you are an American patriot, you cannot support this system on any level. You cannot make excuses for the demographics, which I've just explained to you is a non-point. You cannot say that, oh, actually, China's ability to mobilize resources is great, but it doesn't really have anything to do with their economic strength. Actually, it does. The only reason that they're able to lift people out of poverty, the only reason that they're able to have a military parade with all that world-renowned technology that we're all now witnessing, is because they own their stuff in China. They own their land. They own their resources. Everything is for the Chinese people, not for sale to foreign interests or any parasitic interest. This is the reality of China, and this is the reality that America needs to wake up to and enjoy a taste of in this country. We need a country that works for the people, not one that works for criminals and oligarchs and banksters. China has none of the problems that we have. They have no drug problem. They have no homelessness problem. They have no theft problem where people's cars are being broken into, people's packages are being stolen. It's literally non-existent in China. You tell Americans that we can't even picture a system functioning in that way. We think it's make-believe. Wake up to the reality, America. Realize the situation that we're in and that there's no getting out of this by making any excuse for this system.